Back to the Culture Call on Praise 93.3 with L. Spencer Smith. Our desire is to reach and empower the community by discussing a cross-section of relevant topics from various perspectives that are essential to its growth and interpersonal connections. Be sure to save our call-in number, 205-752-4800. Be sure to install the free Praise 93.3 app so you can send L. Spencer Smith a message or topic idea. Search for WTSK in your app store.
This is the world premiere. Great morning, precious people. You know what time it is. That's right. It's time for the award-winning talk show, The Culture Call, with yours truly, L. Smith, right here on Praise 93 and 790 WTSK. This is indeed the place where Tuscaloosa, meets the world. And for the next 2 hours from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., we're going to be talking a little bit, about everything. That's right. From society to sports, education to economics, from religion to relationships. And as always, we are here to create a safe space to have empowering, provocative, and yes, sometimes controversial conversations. And guess what? You can call in and chat it up with me as we learn together right here on the Culture Call. Want to send my first shout out to our new listeners. Welcome to the CC family. Every day, the church doors are open. The Culture Call doors are open, and we welcome you. Find a place, take a seat, strap in, because we have a wonderful show coming up for you. And I'm so super excited to have you. And so no matter wherever you are and whatever you're doing, thank you so very much for being a part of the Culture Call this morning. Number 2, shout out to all of my consistent, committed, that's right, listeners. That's right, from our culture, that we help build our communities, we help build our cities, and wherever you are, know that you are important to the Culture Call. You're the one that have made us, number 1 in the state of Alabama. And then finally, number 3, want to send a very big special shout out to the inimitable, amazing, awesome brother Jay, who leads us every morning from 5 a.m. until he passes me this baton, this revival baton, and we take it on to see what the end's going to be. That's right. He is, my goodness, he is the one that has taught me how to do this and keeps me up on my toes and makes sure that he encourages me. He is just gold, and I am grateful, and I know you are too. And thankful for Brother Jay. So give him a big, big shout out every time that we can. Listen, do me a favor. Go ahead to your the App Store on your smartphone or your device that you have, your Apple or your Android, and search out in your App Store Praise 93.3 FM. You're going to find there, I'm going to give you a little minute, you're going to find there that, a free 99 app. It does not cost you a thing. I want you to go ahead and get that. You know why? Because it enables you, especially if you are a new listener, it enables you to hear us from all around the country. Doesn't matter where you are. You can stay there and listen to us right here on Praise 93.3 at 10 a.m. You can hear the Culture Call. And if you get up early in the morning at 5 a.m., you'll hear Brother Jay, and you'll get all the important news, the weather. And we're in that time of year that we need to keep track of the weather every day because systems come in and out of the South Central area, and we need to make sure that we're safe and that we're always keeping alert. But yes, you can hear us from wherever you are. Absolutely. What we're talking about empowers every community. That's right. Every black community in every state, wherever you are. So if you're in Phoenix, Arizona, if you are in Los Angeles, California, whether you're in Dallas, Texas, Mobile, Alabama, or right here in the beautiful city of Tuscaloosa, guess what? You can hear us wherever you are. Tuscaloosa, Montgomery, Birmingham, Boulder G, Utah, Aliceville, Greensboro. You know who you are and you know where you are. Guess what? You can hear us everywhere. Everywhere you have this app turned on, you can hear us, and it doesn't matter the limits, right? Good deal. Listen, I need you to go ahead and send me your public service announcements and events to culturecall.praise@gmail.com. That's culturecall.praise@gmail.com, and give me an opportunity to let Lottie, Dottie, and everybody know what's happening in your neck of the woods. That's right. In your organization, your church, your fraternity, your sorority. You know, this is scholarship season, gala season, and we've got a whole lot coming up. Yeah. and those tickets may not be selling as fast as you want them, send it to me, and I'll get on the horn and tell the folks, hey, you need to be at this. Definitely want to make sure you do that. Listen, maybe you're an artist getting ready to have a concert or getting ready to do a live recording. You might be a preacher getting ready to start a church or getting ready to have a revival. Doesn't matter what's going on. We want to let everybody know what's going on. Why? Because what you do in our community is important, and that's just our way to make sure that, hey, you have spaces and faces in the place. That's right, so that you'll know that what you do counts. Why? Because we do it better when we do it together. And as always, you can follow me on Facebook at The Culture Call. Just press the like button. You can send me a message of your announcements or of events there, and we'll pick it up. And, of course, again, you can send it via the email. That would work as well. And, of course, you can write down the golden number, 205-750-4800. That's 205-752. There we go, 752-4800. And you can call into the show and be a part of the conversation. I would love to hear from each of you. So, hey, do me a favor. Sit back and relax. Grab you some coffee. You know how we do it here. Maxwell House of Starbucks. That's right. Or if you don't like coffee, you can get you some herbal tea. If you're trying to calm down, you know what it is. Chamomile. If you're trying to get a little kick, get some green tea. And that's got a little caffeine kick to help you make it through the day. Or definitely, or not or, but and definitely you can get some alkaline water. That's the water in the black label. And it might have red, black and red label. Yeah, my favorite is Essentia. Go ahead and detox your body. That's right. And wake those cells up. And guess what? Let's get into the culture. Listen, the entire month of April, has been about stress awareness, right? And we've been doing our best to really deal with stress awareness. And we got a wonderful feature today talking about stress awareness and setting up stress boundaries. We're going to be talking a little bit about that today. And then in the second hour, I'm going to be talking about something that I'm doing very special on tomorrow. I'm having a discussion at the Impact Nation Fellowship Church about my newest book, which is called Child Left Behind. And that is for children whose both parents have passed away. And it's not just for that, but it speaks to the journey of grief. It speaks to the journey of how we can help each other recover. I do not think in the black community we do a good job of dealing with grief and helping each other through the stress of grief. Yeah. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I want you to come out tomorrow. If you have nothing to do, if you're not at your own Bible study, I want you to come out. We're going to have a discussion tomorrow about specifically, we're going to be talking about people whose both parents have left. And it doesn't matter how young or old you are. That is a journey to lose both of your parents and to be walking in this earth. And, we know it's an inevitability, but there's a journey that is connected to that. And I've been hearing a lot of kudos from the book. I've not pushed it as much, but I'm getting ready to start pushing it because as I see a whole lot of people have taken this journey without any resources. And I'm telling you, grief all by itself is stressful. Can I get an amen? That's right. Grief all by itself is stressful. And it doesn't matter how spiritual, how religious, how deep you might think you are. When anyone you love dies, especially your parents die, it takes a special level of care, a special level of knowing, a special level of comfort. Yeah. And that's what we're going to talk about in our second hour. So we've got a packed day today, and I know it is going to be a blessing to each and every one of you. Listen, so let's start off right here. I've been thinking about and talking to several people in terms of stress and how we can really address it beyond the normalcy of what we normally talk about. You need to get rest and you need to get this and you need to do that. And there's a whole lot of prescriptives with regards to how to handle stress because, yes, stress, you got to handle it. You got to cage it in. You got to make sure that you get a grip on it because, it will lead you to, psychological issues. It would lead you to a psychosomatic, which means from mind to body issues. It could deal with your internal organs, your kidneys, your liver, your pancreas, your spleen. It could really do a job in your thyroids and all of those different kinds of things and can really create some really, that's why it's called sickness and dis-ease. I know we say disease, but if you break that word down, it's really dis-ease, right? That means that there is a lack of peace or lack of homeostasis in your body that's causing certain issues. And we've got to really talk about that. And so, I mean, that's normally what we talk about, but we don't necessarily drill in and hone in on how to set up these boundaries. And, I've been talking about that, in passing for the last couple of weeks, just really getting us to understand it is important for a level of protection and a level of hedging in that you must gain and acquire for yourself in order to master stress. Stress is inevitable. Let me just say that, I hear people say, well, I live a stress-free life. That means you're probably not doing anything. But if you're doing anything, if you're working, if you're in relationship, if you're married, if you're a parent, if you're going to college, if you're going to school, if you interact with people, systems, structures, there's always going to be a level of stress, right? One of the things that physics taught us about automotive, the ability of the automobiles and the cars is that friction stress is the thing that causes forward motion. So there is a level of stress that is necessary in every part of your life. If you never feel that kind of positive stress, you will never meet deadlines and you will never get to work on time. And, you will never understand what time and timing is all about. All of those are conduits and channels of stress in our lives. And I think that's very important. And so there is a place where we have to understand that stress is directly connected to the functionality of who we are. However, we also need to understand that stress, just like water, needs banks, needs borders, right? Because if you got a raging river that has no boundaries, you don't have really a river, you've got a flood, right? And that's important. When the waters of your life have no embankments, have no boundaries, it will run over into every area of your life. And if you're not careful, you'll get stuck in mud. If you're not careful, that water will go into areas that need to be dried, right? If you're not careful, you'll drown in the things that you were simply supposed to float on, and it was supposed to direct you to a particular destination. Now you can't get anywhere because you're not being led anywhere. You don't have any harnesses or any boundaries on the stressful actions, activities, and events in your life. And so that's very important. So we need to really kind of think about how we want to deal with our lives, right? As spiritual people, I think it's very important, and I notice I didn't say religious. I said spiritual people. That means we have a deep centered thought of a creator that is profound in the black community, right? That's something that is foundational to the black community, that we believe that there is a God in heaven who is our Father, and we believe, that's prayer. We believe in praise and worship and all those, their meditation, consecration, sanctification, all those words. We believe in those things. And I think they are very important because it helps us understand the centrality of who created us, that we didn't just appear as slime, that came, off of the shores, out of the water. We're not just amoeba. And now over years, guess why? Because we've never seen it done before. So, I cast a particular aversion on the way Western psychology and anthropology creates this narrative concerning, how human beings got to be human beings. I reject that Darwinism that we started from apes. Somebody got us started from frogs, amphibians. Some people got us starting from one-celled individuals. And my problem is that if it started once, it should still be going on. And for my life, at least in my lifetime, and in my parents and my grandparents' lifetime, they've never seen something crawl out of the water and turn into a human, right? That they've never seen a frog just hop up and just, gain 2 legs and all that kind of stuff and become human. So I think that's very interesting and very understandable that we as black people have a centering in our souls and in our spirits that lead us to believe that, yes, we are created with purpose and destiny by a divine, invisible Father that we rely on. We understand that he spoke the word, and what was invisible now becomes visible through faith. We believe that in our community. However, it is important for us to do the work of our humanity and that which emanates from our soul and spirit, to set up boundaries that keep us away from deleterious living, destructive ideas and choices. That we've got to learn how to fashion our lives and the daily activities therein, and how to harness stress, and how to rid our lives of negative stress, and how to make sure that those triggers and traumas that may have been, or may have the potential to seeping in, right, of our lives, that we learn how to regulate that. See, there is a difference between the water that you are, there's two places for water when you're sailing. Let's look at life as a boat, just to use an analogy, that you can float on the ocean. You can float on the ocean as long as the water stays outside of the vessel. As long as the water stays outside of the vessel, it does not matter the size of the ocean. You can travel on it. You can get to where you need to go, especially if you have direction. The problem happens is that you can drown in a pond if the water gets inside of the boat, right? So what that boat is designed to do is to help you mobilize and float on the law of buoyancy to get across that, whatever size of water that you got to go through, as long as the water does not get in the boat. And what we're finding out is that we're drowning in ponds and lakes, right? When we're designed to be able to navigate seas and oceans, because we don't know how to keep the water out of the boat. That's what it means to really being able to have boundaries for stress, right? You want to keep floating. Your spouse needs to keep floating. Your family needs to keep floating, keep mobilized. Your children and every aspect of your life, you have to learn how to make sure that the water does not get in the boat. Let me say it again, Culture Call. You have the responsibility to make sure that the water does not get in the boat. Because listen, there are going to be storms. Yes, there are going to be winds. Absolutely. But you got to make sure that the water in the boat is at its minimum. Because once the water gets in the boat, you're going to drown in what you were designed to float on. Let me say it again. That once your boat gets overwhelmed with the water that's supposed to be outside of the boat, you're going to drown in what you were designed, to float and mobilize on. And so we need to understand what the boundaries must be. And they have to be non-negotiables, right? That all of the things that you've got to do throughout the day, everything. I'm talking about, you got to get up, you got to make breakfast, you got to get yourself together. And if you have children or teens that are in that age, you got to get up early in the morning. You got to make sure Pampers and bottles are done. You got to make sure the baby is changed. You got to get them ready for daycare, or however that might be. You might be a stay-at-home mom or, a stay-at-home dad for whatever that reason. You got to deal with all of that, and you got to learn how to navigate that, right? Or you got to get your kids, get them ready for school, and you got to make sure that they get to school safely, because now, there are crazy people that's outside waiting for them to snatch them at the bus stop. I don't understand that. But, you got weird people that live in the country, live in our communities, that drive through our communities that just abduct children. This whole issue of human trafficking and all those different kinds of things. So it's a lot you got to deal with, right? And then you got to go deal with your job. You got to deal with your boss, or maybe you're the supervisor and you got to be over certain levels of employees. See, all these things can take over stressful issues. And let's not even talk about bills. We didn't even add that in. We didn't even talk about that. A lot of times you got more bills than you got money coming in the house. That's a whole lot. That can be stressful. And so what we want to talk about today is, okay, life is going to life. Life is going to happen to all of us. I hope that we can agree with that. I hope that you understand that life is designed to life, that you and I do not get a get out of jail free card, a get out of life free card, or stress free life, right? Like James Cleveland says, nobody told me that the road was going to be easy, right? But again, because we are a spiritual people that understand where our help comes from, we can say, I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me. And that is correct. However, you have to make choices that align with his peace. He says, my peace I give to you, not as the world give peace. I mean, right there, he says, I'll keep you in perfect peace. I'll keep you going. I'll keep the water out of the boat if you keep your mind on me because you trust me. And so that is something that abides deeper within us. But then I've got to watch this. Y'all ready for this? Write this down. I've got to make trusting choices. Yeah. Culture call. You and I have to make what? Trusting choices. Right? Proverbs 3, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths, right? That means I've got to make a trusting choice, right? I've got to know the level of strength that he's given me. I've got to determine or choose which doors that are open to me, which of those are obstacles, and which of those enter me into opportunities, right? Because every door that's open is not necessarily a door of peace. It's not necessarily a door of prosperity. It's not necessarily a door that God has created, right? And so I've got to learn how to choose, what door, what job. I got to learn how to choose what mate if you're not married. I got to learn how to choose peace. That's why the text says follow peace with all men, right? That we've got to maintain a uniqueness in this life experiment. And I call it an experiment because all of us live it differently. That all of us have responsibilities, and no matter how much people give you advice and counsel, they can only give you advice and counsel at the level that you share with them. But no one but you is living your life. And so you've got to understand what it's going to take for you to create these boundaries, and you have to protect that peace, right? When John says in the text, I do above all things wish that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prosper. That's that last clause, even as your soul prosper. Everything, yeah, I want you to prosper, go well, and be in health. See, he's dealing with it, but look at where it's connected. So he says, even as what? Your soul prosper. So all of this begins in the mind. There is a particular psychology to peace, a particular mentality of peace. That's a mentality that is, a stress or aversive. That, in other words, this is what I'm going to do, but I'm not allowing this water to get in my ship. Because, you take on so many things, especially those culture call of you who are listening to me right now, that you have not learned the vocabulary of no. You've not learned how to self-admit and be self-aware to say, I can't do this. I'm not going to do that, right? Because the reality is, and we're going to talk a little bit about this in the next segment, we're going to talk about the difference between being self-aware and self-informed. Self-awareness and self-informed, because a lot of us, most of us, are self-informed. We know our gifts, we know our talents, we know, our strengths and all those our skill sets, right? But we are not self-aware. We're not really sure, or we're not really aware then when we're burning the candle at both ends. We're not really aware when we've gotten to the end of a particular level or season or moment of strength, right? We're not self-aware enough to pull back and say, no, this is not my opportunity, right? And so because we are self-informed, which we ought to be self-informed. We ought to know what we bring to the table. We ought to know what we can and or cannot do. We ought to know, our skill sets, and we ought to know those things that we can stand courageously and confidently in, right? We ought to know all of those kinds of things, right? But we also need to be self-aware. We need to know when we are at the end of our rope. We need to know when we have no more candle left. We need to know when we are approaching our stress threshold to where I need to shut it down, shut everybody else down, close the blinds, get into a place of meditation and contemplation to tell the world, and even if that world sometimes is family and children and spouse, I need a minute for me. I need to, recalibrate. I need to reassess. I need to regain strength, right? I'm taking this bubble bath, this Calgon bath, and don't bother me, and put on some candles and take a bath and just soak there. And don't neglect yourself. See, when you're self-informed, you'll keep pushing, because especially as long as people or the center of your validation force. When people say, oh, you can do that. Oh, we love when you do that. We love when you baking cakes. We love when you singing that song. We love when you preaching. We love when you do that. Oh, you do this so well. And they pile more on you. And because you're self-informed, you wrestle yourself, or you make a choice that does not click the no button. You make a choice that does not say to them, yeah, I'm glad that you know I can do that, but right now is not a good time, because you're more self-informed than you are aware, right? And I'm going to give you some examples of that. But here's the deal. You've got to learn how to place boundaries around your peace. You got to learn how that stress and peace live on a very fine line. They live right next to you, next to each other. They are neighbors, right? They can share coffee and tea and sugar across the fence, because they live right close to each other. And you and I are the managers of that. You and I are the managers. We have to learn that it must go well with our soul, our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, right? And Paul begins to teach us and tell us, hey, be anxious for nothing, right? He says that, and when we don't understand that and we don't adhere to that, we'll just add things on, because that makes us feel, watch this, y'all, important. And when you're craving to feel important, when you're craving to feel, get validation and affirmation from other people, when you're in that space, when you're in that place and you lost your power to say no, or the power to retreat and pull back, to self-assess and self-energize, or to pray, or to, focus on, the scriptures, to find those peaceful affirmations back to yourself. When you lose that sense, you will live a stressful life and won't even know it. You will think it is your obligation to live under that level of stress. Why? Because guess what? They need me. They need me. And part of the stress boundary is this. Can you live not being needed as much as you think you are? Say that again, El. I think I will. Can you live? Yeah. Can you live, firing yourself or not being needed by folks and systems as much as you think you are needed? Are you really needed, or are you convenient? My. Talk about it. Yeah. Are you really a necessity, or are you just a convenience that everybody's found to unload on? Yeah. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to help each other, build our stress boundaries and protect our peace and make peaceful decisions right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, on Praise 93.3 and 790 WTSK. Hey, the award-winning Culture Call. Got more to say, but I need you to keep it locked right here. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, Praise 93.3 FM. And we are having a great day with a great discussion. That's right. Making sure that we have stress boundaries, a hedge around our peace. And of course, you can call in 752-4800, 205-752-4800, or you can hit me up on the app and let's talk about it. Let's talk about how we can maintain our peace. We said something in the last segment concerning, being self-informed and versus being self-aware. And I want to bring you into a space so you can begin to understand exactly what that looks like, because I don't think a lot of us really understand it. And Because when you are good at what you do, and hear me, Culture Call, when you are good at what you do, there will be people that will always pull on you. When you are great at what you do, there will always be folks that really, that think that you never get tired because they look at what you do and you do it so well. Guess what? That they don't think that, you need a time of respite, that you need a time where they think that you get great pleasure in doing it. And that's from pastors. That's from preachers. From preachers, because every preacher is not a pastor. That can be from who? That can be who I want to say. That could be from somebody that sings in the choir. It could be you on your job. It could be you as a mommy, that you do it so effortlessly, right? You do it so easily that people don't know that, you really get tired. And I think when you don't understand that, not when I said when you don't understand that, you'll keep allowing them to pull on you. And yes, you are a great mom. You're a great pastor. You're a great preacher, great singer, great alto in the section. You're a wonderful usher. What you do it well. Kudos to you. But that ain't the issue. The issue is simply this, that yes, you're self-informed by how good and how great, because people will say that, but they will very rarely say, are you tired? Do you need to take some time off? Because when people want what they want, they'll look all over you being sick with the flu and all of that. They'll do that on your job. They'll do that in the church, and they will use you until they use you up. And then will have the nerve to say, when you get sick or get in the hospital, I didn't know they was sick like that. I know you didn't know that. I know you didn't see that, because you were used to being, told yes all the time. You were used to using me, not abusing. And people not abusing you, they're just using you because you're good at what you do. It is your responsibility. It is my responsibility as well for us to say, no, this is a moment for me. That's when you're self-aware. That I need some time away. I need some time alone. No, I can't lead the song today. No, I'm not going to be able. Listen, I've got a staff of amazing preachers. And when I get at my wit's end, when I get to the place where something's going on with my voice, I'm too tired, I let them preach. Yeah. But I want my pastor to preach. I got it. I totally understand that. But guess what? Your pastor's not preaching this Sunday because your pastor is tired, because at the end of the day, he's human. And this ain't the only thing that he does. Right? This ain't the only thing that she does. So you have to start looking at people and letting them know that I'm a self-aware. If I don't take care of me and stay in the peace that God has given me, I will be used up. You feel me? So that's the big difference between being self-informed. I'm glad you know about your gifts and your talent, and I'm grateful that people pull on you like that. And I'm glad that you can do it at the snap of a dime or whatever that might be. But you better become self-aware and learn what your limitations are. I see a caller here. Yes. And I believe I got Miss Joyce on the line.
Yes, you do.
Hey, Miss Joyce, how you been?
I've been going through a lot, but I'm still in the land of the living.
Listen,
and I'm grateful and thankful for that.
And that's all we can ask God for. Go ahead, darling. Say what you got to say.
I want to make a comment today.
Yes, ma'am.
Since your program been coming on the air ever since last year, I have really been blessed. I have really grown.
Oh, thank you.
And you have taught me and learned me so much.
Wonderful.
And all the things that you teaching and learning, I'm applying them to my life. And I'm telling you, I'm doing so much better since this program been on the air. It really educated and taught me, and it brought me and learned me and taught me a lot of things that I didn't know, and I appreciate it.
Oh.
And I'm going to tell you something, what I do.
What you do?
I got an ID. I got call ID on my phone. And when people call me, and I know they're going to be calling me, like you say, with a bunch of mess, gossip and mess and stuff I don't want to listen to, I just look at my phone. I don't answer.
That's you got to do it.
That's how I keep stress away from me. I keep it away. I'm not going to listen at all this stuff. And like you say, this stuff enter into your spirit.
That's right.
And you need your peace in your spirit, in your soul, in your mind. You don't need the devil with his. What I'm trying to say is this: you don't need a person that's demon possessed with a lot of different kind of evil spirits to come in and interrupt your peace in your mind.
That's right.
And see, when you in your house and you praying and meditating, you listen to that gospel on the radio and on the TV. You don't want to be disturbed.
Right.
You want to keep on going because the spirit is showing and revealing things to you. You don't want a demon to call you on your phone and interrupt you.
You're so right.
Disturb you and mess you up.
Absolutely.
Because it'll get you off track.
It sure
and when
will.
you get off track, it's hard to get back on to where you were.
Say that again, Miss Joyce. That's right. When you get off what track? What now?
When you get off of the right track, your spiritual track.
Right.
Like when I love to pray and meditate and concentrate, and I love to be in tune with the Holy Spirit. And I don't be wanting people. I tell people don't call me on Saturday because Saturday is the Sabbath day.
That's right.
And that's my day of rest. That's my day. I'm researching, studying, and growing and processing in the Holy Spirit.
Right.
And I don't want to be bothered and disturbed.
That's right. You got to have a day. You got to have a day. You done shared some pearls. It's so good to hear you, Miss Joyce. I'm so glad that you are doing better and getting better. You keep on hanging on in there, and I'm so glad to hear from you. Love you, darling.
We love you, too.
All right, take care. Listen, I'm telling you all, you got to make sure, like Miss Joyce just said, you got to make sure that you build boundaries around your peace. On her, it's Saturday. That's her Sabbath. That's the Sabbath day. That's the seventh day. And she keeps it to herself as holy. And don't bother her on her day. You got to do that, because if you are just self-informed, you will allow people to say, oh, you baked them cakes so good. Why don't you bake me a cake? Or, oh, you sing that song so well. We know you didn't practice it, but why don't we going to pull on you tomorrow? And you could be at your wit's end. And because you're more self-informed than you are self-aware, you let people pull you out of that place of peace. You let them pull you out of that place where you should be resting. You let them pull you out of that place whereby when you get ready to focus on something, or you get ready to do something for you, because again, number one, that's not a bad thing. When you're doing something for you, right? It is so very important that you stay in tune and stay in touch with what God is saying to you, how to center yourself in your faith, how to center yourself in the moment, how to take time for yourself. You got to do that. Jesus did it. You should do it to you. If he had to do it, don't you have to do it as well? Right? And I think it's important. And I see it even in my own life that, again, I know what I do it well. And, sometimes people say, well, you ought not say that. No. I reflect Christ in that way. He says, you know what? I am the bread of life. I am this. But yeah, I know I can sing. I know I can preach. I know I can do a plethora of things. But here's what I do know. Here's where self-awareness comes in. I know that I'm not the same age that I used to be. There are things that I used to be able to do at 20 and 30 that now that I am the age that I am now, I'm like, no, I'm not putting on those things on my plate. And I used to let people just kind of tell me, hey, you can do X, Y, Z. Or can you do this X, Y, Z? Or can you? And I used to stand up at church after I finished preaching, an hour and then going to counsel you for 30 minutes on the same message or on a message you missed because you wasn't there. And, when I was younger, I would do that. And then I had a psychologist tell me, you are not going to be able, a Christian psychologist say, you're not going to be able to be useful and valuable throughout your entire career. You got books to write. You got songs to write. You got a family to take care of. You got a beautiful wife you need to love. You got to rear your children, and get them ready. You can't just do this all and be there for everybody. And then when you are tired, you ignore the fact that, you're stressed out, you're broken down, and you're trying to live up under the labels and the banners. And I'm talking to pastors now, trying to live up under the labels and the banners of other people. I'm talking to leaders now. You're trying to be validated, and you don't want people to think bad about you because, you know, you're not available to them and available for them. Sometimes you need to be unavailable to them, right? It is just like, hey, Jesus said we're going to the other side. He and the disciples got in the boat going over the Sea of Tiberias, the Sea of Galilee, and they were used to storms. These were fishermen. So, you know, the storm, the wind, the storm started happening and all that kind of. Why are fishermen, who I am sure have seen storms before, hollering and waking up Jesus? And Jesus trying to get asleep. He was tired. He was fully human and he was fully God. But the human part of him was tired, right? And they're screaming and hollering, fishermen screaming and hollering, you know, and you should be able to navigate this storm by yourself. You should be able to handle this because this ain't the first storm you've been in. But if you are one that can step in and handle the storm, they will let you do it all the time. And guess what? They won't even learn. Because guess what they say? They woke Jesus up. Jesus said, hey, ye of little faith. He goes and say, peace, be still. Right? He said, listen, why y'all got such little faith? Why y'all tripping like y'all tripping? Right? And then, watch this. They said, what manner of man is this that even seas and the winds obey? So they wake you up. They don't even know who you really are. They just made you convenient because of something that they didn't want to do. Read the text again. It's right there. It's right there. It ain't as deep as you think it is. Yes, Jesus does have the power over the seas and over the wind. But if you look at the text in its real transliteration, he says, peace to them, be still to the weather, right? He says, because I'm giving you my peace. I'm not giving the winds and the waves my peace. I'm giving you my peace. So he said to them, peace, and then looks to the wind and the waves and says, be still, right? They lost peace. They had him in the boat. Right? And the convenient thing, instead of them standing in their faith and said, well, I'm not worried. I know it's a little rocky. I know it's a little windy. I know we are bouncing up and down on this water. But guess what? We're going to make it to the other side. No, they don't want to do that. They're going to wake up Jesus. Get up. Care us not that we perish. Right? Right? And see, a lot of people will wake you up and move you out of your resting place and out of your de-stressing place because they've come enamored with what you can do and fail to see who you are. Right? And it is your responsibility. I know you may not like this, and I know some may not like this, but hey, Pastor, hear me. The key to longevity, the key to not growing bald and gray and stressing out and having your high blood pressure and your diabetes and all these other kind of physical things going on is for you to say, hey, didn't I teach you this? Didn't I say this to you? Were you at church when I taught about family? Were you at church when I taught about offense and conflict? Then why are you calling me with this? What did I say? Oh, you weren't there? Okay, well, go and get this CD. Go and get this, because what I'm not going to do is recapitulate something that I've been teaching that you desired to be absent. And when your life was good, you were absent. And now that your life going crazy, you want to disturb me. You want to stress me out based upon the way that because you didn't hear the word that I said. No, absolutely not. And that seems high. Oh, he's not a good pastor. He's supposed to be here anytime I meet him. Where is that written? Where is that written? When I was leading you beside still waters, when I was leading you to answers and solutions and peace and feeding you with knowledge and understanding, you decided to be on vacation. You decided, well, I don't want to come to church today. You decided to be on the golf course. Okay, so now I'm supposed to stop my life. I'm supposed to stop my forward motion. I'm supposed to stop my Monday relaxation to deal with something that I already taught on. See, that's the part right there. If you don't protect and you're not self-aware of understanding, because like Mondays are my days. I try to do as less as I possibly can on a Monday. And when people text me on a Monday with an issue, I say, what day is this? I text them right back. I say, hey, what day is this? Monday. I said, what day is Monday for your pastor? What day is Monday for me? Oh, it's your resting day. Okay, well, I'll figure it out. They know now. Or pray about it. Take it to the Lord in prayer. Don't take it to the pastor in prayer, because I'm human just like you are. You know? And that's important. I don't mind love and hugs, and if I'm seeing you crying, I was after service Sunday, I was stopped by a young lady. I was getting ready to go do some book signing, and I saw a young lady, and she was crying and she was weeping, and I stopped right where I was doing, because my heart reached out to her, and I did not want to leave her in that moment. I was definitely not going to say, well, darling, I can't pray for you right now because I'm getting ready to sign books. Absolutely not. My pastoral duty was to stop and pray for her. But guess what else I did? My wife was there. My elder, my adjutant elder was with me. My helping elder was there. And then I directed her and put her in charge of my pastor of prayer and intercession. And I got them connected. I prayed and showed her how she get more resources. And then I left my pastor of prayer and intercession with her, and I went on to sign my books. Yeah, absolutely. No. See, there's a way that you can structure your life so that you can put boundaries around your peace. You can put boundaries around the energy and the strength. And you watch this. And the boundaries around your focus, Culture Call. Around your focus. And just like Ms. Joyce said, there are numbers already you have in your phone that when they call, it ain't going to be nothing but stress and mess. My thing is, it's your responsibility to know when not to answer the phone. Talk and hear Bishop L. I guess I will for a little while. Hear me. It's the difference between being self-informed and self-aware. Be self-aware to say, hey, I got to pull back. I got to distress. I gotta make sure that I got enough for my wife and children, because that's my first ministry. I love the Impact Nation Fellowship Church. Been pastoring there for almost 30 years. I love the people of God. Been traveling all over this country since I've been 18 years old, preaching and doing revivals. But what I need to do and understand is my wife and my children are my first ministry. They're my first care, and they need my attention, and I've got to be healthy for them. Amen. Yeah, I got to be healthy for them. So when they pull, they got something to pull from. Absolutely. Listen, this is your host, the L. Spencer Smith, right here on the Culture Call. Praise 93.3 FM. That's right. Keep it right here. There's more to come. Don't miss it.
This is the world premiere.
And we are back. That's right. It's the top of the hour, 11 a.m. and some change, right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. Praise 93.3 at 790 WTSK. We are so glad and grateful that you have tuned in. If you're just coming on in this hour, welcome to the CC family. That's right. And today we've been talking about, we have been talking about building stress boundaries, making sure that you maintain those boundaries around your peace, and making sure that you are self-aware, not just self-informed, but self-aware about how to protect and how to maintain those hedges around your peace and sobriety, right? You are responsible for that. You got to make better choices. Yeah. And so, if you're just joining us, welcome. Strap in, buckle in. It has been a doozy of a morning. And I tell you, listen, 205-752-4800, 205-752-4800, or you can hit me up on the app. That's right. The app has a chat feature, and you can hit me up on the app if you got something you need to say or want me to know. I will be glad and grateful to share it with so many people, because guess what? We need each and every one of you to do that. Listen, before I get into this hour, I've got a chat feature from Paul from Birmingham. He says part of stress management and boundaries requires not of being afraid to be seen as the bad guy villain for simply saying no. And no is a complete answer. He says not everything is for you to do. And if everything crumbles because you're not doing it, let it crumble. Wow. Yes. The whole system was built incorrectly anyway. So sometimes things falling apart is correction. That's right. Sometimes we need to get out of the way, and that includes of our own way. Thank you, Paul from Birmingham. That is so true, that if it can't survive without you, then it's not built correctly. And that's from business, that's from church, all of those things. If it cannot survive without you always having to do something and be something and participating actively in it, then, part of it falling apart is self-correction, right? That, you got to always do this and you got to always do that. And you feel that pressured responsibility to always answer the call. That was something that I was taught early as a pastor. If you always got to be the one to pray, if you got to be the one to always preach, because I was praying, preaching, doing choir rehearsal, sometimes jumping on the keyboard and all those different kinds of things. And, I had some wise folks to tell me, hey, pay your musicians, get you some good musicians and pay them. And we started doing that. Like, let some other people pray. And so now what I do is that I at our church, the Impact Nation, I'm not a harvester. I'm a producer. What does that mean? Harvesters wait for other people to produce it and then try to pay it and take it from other people's churches. I don't do that. I don't do that. That's not what I've done. Now, there are many people that do that, and that's no chagrin to them. But I've always prayed and asked God to help me produce what we needed at our church so that, because everybody needs a good staff. Everybody needs good musicians, good singers. Everybody needs a good, sound man, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what I can't wait is for what I'm not going to do is study Mount Bethel staff. And then because I got more money, because I ain't never paid nobody, now try to take Mount Bethel staff, to build my church. That, to me, that's, that's something that I just don't do. I mean, again, not casting any kind of aspersions. That's just not what I do. And so, I've gotten to the place to where if I need it, if I desire it in my space, then I'm going to make sure that we try to raise it up in our church so it can be, understand our culture, understands my heart, and understand its responsibility to our particular house. I think that's very important. And because I'm not running a business per se, there's a business aspect to the church, but I believe in empowering other people because that's the way to stay stress-free. Right? That's a way to stay stress-free is empowering other people and equipping them properly to help in an assignment. And so that's not a one-man job. Family is not a one-man job. There's a husband, a wife, and children. Everybody has their roles to play. It's not a one-person job. And a lot of times what people will put on you what they don't want what they don't want to do. Right? They will abuse your yes and your seeming willingness. Because every time you do something, tell the truth, you're not willing. You do it, but you're not willing to do it. In other words, there's nothing in your heart that really wants to do what you're doing and engage in it. Right? You're doing it just because they ask you. And I want to tell you and most certainly you right over in that back corner, that's an unhealthy way to approach life and living. That is going to stress you out, and you're going to get to a breaking point because you can't keep saying yes and then you have an unwilling heart. That means you're fighting your emotions. Your soul is fighting your physical body, right? And there has to be a community, a complement, a complete participation, spirit, soul, and body before you do anything. And so you're singing and leading that song, but you're not willing. That was one of the things that David prayed in Psalm 51. He said, Lord, created me the right spirit. What it means in the Hebrew is really this: Lord, make me willing to be willing to do this. Right? Because remember, if you are willing and obedient, you'll eat the good of the land. That's the text. That's what it means. So there's a level of willingness. And when you have run out of your willingness, but you're still trying to be obedient or you're still trying to do assignment or complete assignment, it will indeed what? Wear you down. It will wear you down. And so, one of the ways that and guess what? And when you are unwilling. Yeah, culture call. You know when you have run out of the desire to do a thing. That you are just performative. I'm doing it just because I know I can sing. I'm doing it just because I know I can do this task on my job. I'm doing it, X, Y, Z, but there's really no willingness in you. And when you cross your willingness threshold, that is an indicator, especially in areas where you were once willing. That's right. Especially in the areas where you were once willing to do it, right? And you've done it so much out of obligation, and you've lost the element of willingness in your life. That's when you need to pull back and say, hey, I think I might need to take a break from the choir. I might need to take a break from this group or this team on my job. I may need to talk to my supervisor and say, hey, I got a lot of stress. I got a lot of going on, and I might need just give me a couple of weeks to not do X, Y, Z, and ABC. And I know they may fear because, this is a work for hire state. They'll fire you without cause and all that, and many other states. So I know many of you probably are a little slow, but they do give you personal days. They do give you time off for you, and schedule it properly. When those blackout dates are at your job, at your church, or whatever organization or whatever place you're serving. Yeah. Well, Bishop, what if those people that I'm stressed out with and unwilling is my family? Oh, the same thing. That's the conversation. It's called communication. Because guess what? We really don't have the right to run off from our families. Man, if you're a father and you've been taking care of business, you ain't got a right you do not have a right. Let me say it again. You do not have the right to just, one day not show up at home to take yourself on a vacation and your wife and children don't know where you are. Wife, you don't have the right. Let me put it like that. You don't have the right to just go to the spa and never come back. Children, you just don't have a right without communicating. And we ought to give space for our children to communicate, because sometimes our children are stressed out. Yes, right. But they're going to do what I say do. No. As a wise parent, you need to say, hey, do you need to take a break? I know. Listen, it ain't going to cost you to take out the trash. It ain't going to cost you nothing as a parent to wash the dishes, especially when you're understanding that your children may have, especially as they get into the older grades, where they got to, testing, for their futures coming up, ACT, SAT, where they got a lot of pressure and duties on them. If you communicate and they feel comfortable communicating with you, part of wise parenthood is to sit there and say, hey, do you need to take some time off? Do you need to, do you just need to, hey, I'll handle that for you. It's all right. Go in your room and just chill out. Go on the back porch and whatever you need to do to de-stress. Because guess what? Our children and our teens get stressed too. And we don't know nothing about that in black families, because our parents are like, hey, I'll show you stress. I'll stress you out, And here you come with a belt and a switch and an extension cord. God help us. Here now we need to call child services on you, right? Call CAPS, Child Abuse Prevention Services, on you, because you think they're working in the field picking cotton. That's not disrespectful to the parent if the child says, mommy, daddy, can I just have some time? And you can't hear that and understand that, because you want them to hear you when you say that, right? That sometimes they want to go to the mall, they want to go here, you're like, hey, I just need a break. I had a stressful day. And they got to understand that. Why can't we provide mutual understanding? Because guess what we're trying to do? We're trying to protect the peace in our house. And then we push our kids, and they, here it is. We push them to the breaking point, and then they do something, and you're like, why that happen? Why that happen? Well, because when they were trying to communicate with you, you were so busy trying to be a taskmaster that you forgot to be a caring, nurturing parent. Ouch. I know. Like my granddaddy said, if you can't say amen, say ouch. Because that's the facts. That it can happen to everybody. And that's a teaching lesson. That what you're teaching them is that when you get stressed out, it is no problem with you being self-aware and pulling back to find what? Your willingness again. Because it is easy to lose your willingness to do a thing, and out of obligation, you just do it. You just do it. You just do it. You just do it. you know? And, you know, now I know there are seasons where we just got to buckle up and handle our responsibilities. And that's normally when we have procrastinated before, or we failed to plan properly before, so that we can do that. You know, that we can really maintain our peace while we handle our responsibilities. So, yeah, you may be lighted upon a season when that happens, but that should not be the normal course of life. Culture call. That should not be the normal course of our lives. Right? And so that's one of the things that we definitely have to do and pay attention to. You know, and that yes, every day, peace is an option. Peace is a choice. Being stressed out is an option. Being stressed out is a choice. And the question becomes, is what are you trying to prove? What are you trying to prove, comma, and who are you trying to prove it to? What are you trying to prove, and who, yes, are you trying to prove it to? Yeah. And so, hey, once you answer those questions and you get an understanding, and all you're get an understanding of that, you're going to see some things. Yeah. You're going to see some things change in your life. And you know what? I think as our black folks, we don't necessarily know how to live life stress-free. We don't know how to live life stress-free. And there's a sort of guilt that's created around it. Like Paul just said in his chat on the app, that there's a certain guilt around, you know, telling people no or saying I'm unavailable. There's a certain guilt around you not answering the phone or being at every meeting. And there's certain guilt for you because we have guilted, you know, we have guilted stress. We have guilted, you know, rest so much that, you know, I rest when I'm dead. Okay, well, you're gonna hasten it to perform itself. Exactly. You're going to hasten that thing to perform. That's what's going to happen. If you are not doing that properly, then you're going to really, really hurt yourself. And it's important that you understand that. It's important that you understand that. And I want you to really focus on that, because that willingness is so powerful. I've learned the power of willingness, that if I get up on a Sunday or I do my work on a time where I'm stressed out, or I just really don't want to do this today, I feel, can I be honest? I feel guilty, because am I disappointing God? Am I disappointing my wife? Am I disappointing my family? Am I disappointing my church? And my desire is not to disappoint anybody. But watch this. But ultimately, y'all ready? Drum roll, please. You're disappointing you. You created all of these narratives in your heart and in your mind. And it has caused you to not understand that, hey, that if I miss this, that if I let this season overwhelm me, I may not, you know, I could literally, and listen, I don't do fear mongering. I just tried my best to tell you the truth. I do my best to tell you the truth, that I'm not fear mongering, but you could get to a place to where you're like, okay, yeah, let me see because if I don't adjust myself, if I don't get to the place to where I'm understanding and saying, hey, yeah, I better do something. Because if I don't, let me say it again. If I don't, what could I be losing? What could I be losing? And I need you to understand that. I need you to understand that you've got to take that time to say, get over the guilt, get over the shame, get over the, how should I say, get over the moment where I feel like, well, if I don't do this or X, Y, Z, then it's all going to crumble. I am, again, of the persuasion of Paul. He says that if it's like that, then maybe you shouldn't do it at all. And I'm telling you, I'm telling you, people like to throw it back on you. People love to throw it back on you. Well, you're not doing such stuff. Well, you should be doing it. And they know what you should be doing. And you get in this guilt complex and you just lose all willingness. Now you're just coasting from one assignment, from one job, from one task to the next. Stressed out, ready to cuss people out with your saved and sanctified self. And then ultimately you break and you just leave. A lot of times people come to church. They come to our church and I tell them, hey, let me say this to you. I said, and this, I don't want you to be offended when I say this. I'm going to ask you not to do anything. I want you to just sit here. Let me minister to you because, I just need you to sit up under the word. I need to see first of all, I need you to understand what kind of ministry you're a part of. I need to see what kind of pastor you're connected to. Right? So you don't have to join the choir yet. You don't have to join the usher board. You're now under no pressure to be a part of anything. Just come to church. Just sit and let me minister to you. Right? And afterwards, we'll have a conversation and they'll be honest and say, Pastor, I'm so glad that you did that. Because where I was coming from, I was doing everything. I was on this ministry and that ministry and that ministry, and I was burnt out. And I was made to feel rebellious. I was made to feel, like I was going to hell or wicked because I wasn't doing XYZ in ministry. And, and I was like, wow, okay, I get it. I understand. And I was sitting there, I'm sitting there listening to them. And I understand how that feels. Yeah, I understand how that feels. And when you don't properly apply that and really, because I've been in ministry, I've been in church where they just want you to work, right? Right? And you're doing it. Yeah, you sure are. You're doing it. But guess what? You're breaking down while you're doing it. You're forcing yourself to be in a space and in a place to where, hey, I just don't, I'm not finding any joy in doing this anymore. And I'm like, yo, wait a minute. You don't find any kind of joy, any kind of peace. Yeah, I just didn't want to come to church anymore. And I'm like, whoa, that's a lot. And you'll be surprised how many people are sitting in places and spaces to where they just lost all the joy and the desire to even be a part of, what's going on in church. They're stressed out. And you have to sit them down and say, hey, I need you to sit there until Holy Spirit restores your willingness again. I need you to sit there and just for a moment. Until you can get your willingness back, until you can get your mind back, till you can locate your peace again. I need you to see this. If you don't see this as, I need you to find a place, because we all can lose our desire. That's what I'm really saying. We all can lose our desire. Yeah, we can all lose our desire. And if we're not careful, we'll do that even in the name of the Lord. And thinking that God is pleased. And we're like, yo, no, that ain't how that works. That's not how this works. You're losing, and people say, hey, good morning. What you want from me now? I'll call you and ask you to do something and you can have a sigh. No, See, because when you do that, I'm like, no. Because if that's your response to your pastor, if that's your response to your leader, it doesn't mean anything is wrong with you, but there is something going on there. And I need you to go recalibrate because you can't work with me and you're stressed out. You can't work with me and you don't have a willingness to be a part of the program that we're trying to do. And that is not a sinful thing to say, Pastor, I'm really exasperated. I'm really tired. I really need to take a Selah. Fine. But part of our boundaries around our peace is having communication. You know, a lot of people say, well, I'm church hurt. I'm this hurt. I'm that hurt. And you can't be hurt until, watch this, hurt is really not complete until you have had communication. Because did you talk about it? Because now if you told them yes and you really meant no, it's not the person that asked you to do it fault anymore. It's your fault. It's your prerogative. It's your responsibility. Yes, I said it and I meant it. And I'll say it again, that if you're doing something, if someone asks you to do something and you don't say, it ain't your husband's fault, if you just say, baby, I'm really tired. I just needed a moment to myself. If you don't communicate that as the wife, how you going to be mad at your husband? Well, he ought to know. Well, he should know. You right? You know how he should know? Because you ought to open your mouth. That's your husband, not a prophet nor a psychic. Tell people, I don't know how to talk to my parents. Mom, Dad, can I just talk to y'all for a minute? If they're good parents, they'll sit down, they'll stop what they're doing to hear what their child has to say, especially when it's not your norm to say, hey, Mom, Dad, can I talk to you? Right? It's communication. What you do is you let frustration become your communication, and that is not fair. And then you leave, and then you get on social media and talk about you this hurting, that hurting, that hurting, this hurting. No, it's just that you cannot communicate it properly. And if you're in a place and in a space where people cannot appreciate your honesty, cannot appreciate your transparency about your condition concerning stress or being distressed, about you being unnerved or on the part of where you can't attach your peace, if you can talk to people and they can't understand that, then that's an indicator that might not be the place for you. And then here it is. Don't label it as, you know, church hurt or work hurt or marriage hurt or however, you know, because y'all can label hurt. Well, you know, school hurt. No, that's not hurt. They didn't understand that. Okay, well, that's an indicator to me, right? If I go any further, then I'm hurting myself. But if I'm communicating with an individual that I'm at my wit's end in a place and they can't hear it, if you continue, that's when hurt will begin. Let me say, if you keep doing it after you communicated, right? Because if you don't communicate it and they keep telling you this, then offense is going to be placed in your heart. And that's not church hurt. And then that offense drives you to disconnect, everybody wondering where you are. And then you getting everybody talking about the church this and the pastor did this and the choir director did this. No, you didn't communicate because half of the time, them people didn't even know because you didn't say anything. Part of your responsibility of building a hedge around your peace is learning how to communicate. Hey, I'm tired today. Hey, today is not a good day. Oh, okay, Pastor, I want to, but, you know, I really want to, but right now it's just not a good time. Can you pray for me? And if they come back, well, you ought to obey the man of God. You ought to obey the woman. No, that ain't my church. Nope. That ain't my church. No, I don't do that. If you tell me that, hey, I need some time off, I need to step away, okay. Right? Now, don't get mad if they appoint somebody or get somebody else to fill in to do your work. Don't get upset now because the whole objective is to protect your peace. Because now you're going to go home and get mad. They replaced me. No, you told me you were tired. You told me you were stressed out. Get a grip. No, you can't have it both ways. You know? And one of my upcoming books, I'm writing about stress and how we, the Superman complex is what I call it. And I'm really talking about this whole idea of creating barriers around your peace to make sure you don't maintain your peace. And one of the questions that I ask in this particular chapter, the Superman complex, is, are you okay not being needed? Are you okay with somebody replacing you because the stress of the job has become too much? Because there are some people that are addicted to being needed. They need to be needed in order to be seen as valuable. And they're stressed out, but they need it. They're at their hair falling out, their hair falling out and their wig is crooked. Yes, because they just need to be needed. They got to be in everything. They're going to be in the know. But your need to be needed is your kryptonite. Let me say that again. I said your need to always be needed is your kryptonite. That's your problem. You need to be needed. And you don't understand when somebody says no, or they say, but I put sister so-and-so in your place. Or, okay, but since you can't do it, I'm going to ask your brother and sister to do it. Right? And it can start from when you're a child. I don't want to tell so-and-so no. No, be honest that at this moment, I don't have a willingness. I don't have the energy. I don't have the strength. Be self-aware. Right? You can lose your energy as long as you don't lose your you. Because when you keep your you intact, you can locate your willingness and your energy and that fervor again. You can locate that zeal again. But when you tap over and ignore that, then you start burning your you out. The essence of who you are. And then you start, and there will be a day where you just get so conflicted. You get so conflicted. And then now you're lashing out at people, and they're like, yo, we just asked you to do such and so forth. And instead of you being honest a month ago, when you were already stressed out and saying, no, I'm not going to be able to do that. Can I just have some time off or find somebody else to do it? Doesn't mean that you don't love the ministry. Doesn't mean that you don't love your family. Doesn't mean that you don't love your job. It just means that I love me a little bit more to want to give you the best of me every time that we interact. And I don't want to cause you to face the brunt of my lack of willingness in this moment. So being truthful to myself forces me to be truthful with you. Right? And what I'm doing is protecting that peace so I can regain those things that life and stress and work and labor has caused me to lose. You got to do it. You got to do the work. You got to do the work of communication, and that communication has to be honest, that when you've lost your willingness, it's the time to step back. Because if you ignore your lack of willingness, you start eating at your you, the essence and the purpose of who you are. And then you're going to get offended and frustrated and be hurt. And that hurt will be caused not by the things that ask you to do a thing, but that hurt will be caused by you and your lack of honesty. Listen, this is L. Spencer Smith right here on the Culture Call. That's right. 205-752-4800. Give me a call. We're right here on Praise 93.3 FM, your inspiration station. We got more to come. Keep it right here. Don't miss it. And we are back right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. Praise 93.3 and 790 WTSK. Glad to have y'all on. We've been talking about placing barriers around your peace. That's right. Placing barriers around your peace and making certain that we protect ourselves away from stress, negative stress, making sure that we do that. And as I said at the top of the show, I was going to use a portion of it just to kind of talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow, I want to invite each and every one of you to the Impact Nation Fellowship Church. That's the church where I pastor at 1110 26th Avenue East, right in the heart of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, across from the former Leland Bowling Lanes in Alberta City. We're going to be having a discussion about my newest book, Child Left Behind. And we're going to be talking about children who have lost both of their parents. And it's not just about that. We're going to talk about grief as a system, grief as a unavoidable, necessary system that happens. It causes us to understand some things about life and love and hope and expectation. But I want to unfold and unpack some of my journey. For those of you, most of you know that in 2022, in March 28th, I'll never forget that day that I lost my last parent, my mom. And it just was an experience. It has been 2 years later. It has been an experience for me. I will never forget that day that she called me and told me she was having pain, and we thought it was in her stomach. But she was having a heart attack, and, for the lack of a better word. And I remember those days leading up to it and how she had appeared to be so fine. But then, of course, and we spent several days, the decline and just walking with her through that whole to the end, because I was at the hospital when she passed away, when the doctors came in. Me and my brothers were in the room. And that whole week it replays in my mind often. 2 years later, it replays in my mind. And when she passed away, it also then caused me to replay my dad's passing away in December 4th, 2015, that he passed away. And, this whole idea, for years when they moved from South Carolina, I felt it was my responsibility to take care of him and to make certain that as a son, and that they had moved from their comfortable place in South Carolina, Moats Corner, to move with me to help me in ministry and what I had to do at the church there. When I lost my dad, my baby brother had transferred him already to Atlanta where his doctors were. And he died from prostate cancer. And I can remember when my mom was there and she called me. We were on my way there. I was in the middle of having a leadership meeting in Birmingham at my Birmingham church. And she called me and said, Dad is about to go. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. What? Are we serious here? It brought all of those back. But I can remember the days after, and I was praying and asking God, Lord, how am I going to get through all of this? I'm grateful for my wife. I had a wonderful wife, I have a wonderful family. My children surrounded me. My church, I've got an amazing church, phenomenal church. They gave me space to process. But on the inside of me, it was a little boy just crying because I felt alone, orphaned, if you will. And, I said, God, how am I going to get through this? Tell me the path to healing, And I heard Holy Spirit say to me, write about it, because you're not the only one. And that moment was so personal for me. I kind of forgot that my wife had lost her father early in our marriage. She lost her father. And in that moment, I just kind of forgot a whole lot of things. Earlier, I lost my sister and all those things I had forgotten about. It was so personal. I thought I was just the only one going through it. And I opened up my phone and my notes, and I just kind of started writing how I was feeling, writing about the process, writing about the notions. And I started, as I started writing, there was such a cleansing, writing through tears, writing through lonely days, sitting on my back porch, just looking out, looking at, I've still, if I can be transparent, I still haven't taken my mom's, if you got an iPhone, they've got important people. I've got like my children, all of my kids. I got my church there, and I have my mom and my mother-in-law there as well. And I still have it. And there are periods of time where I go back and read her last text to me. And, I would sit in the porch to do that, and I would write a little bit. And so one of the chapters in the book, it starts off talking about, my introduction, I talked about how I got introduced to this No Parents Club, this whole idea of no child left behind. And I talk about that pain, but I talk about roots in the first chapter. What happens when your roots die, or when you feel like your roots have died, because that's really what it feels like, that there is some, long before a plant dies, it roots dies, and it takes a minute for you to see that travel the plant. And if you're not careful, there's a struggle there to not let those roots die, to that's why we go to their house. That's why we don't change too many things. That's why, we don't change their answer machines. That's why, you keep all the bills in their name. That's why you look at a lot of their pictures, because you're trying so hard to make sure those roots don't die. Because I know that if those roots die, there's an element of me that will die. Now, there's a difference between me dying and me changing, because my parents' deaths changed me forever. And I have a responsibility to acknowledge that. And, and also, it is also for me not to let the roots in me die. So I always try to remember the things they tell me. I always try to take their words, because our parents don't have to, watch this, air quotes, die in the sense of, we understand I don't have them in their physical property, which is painful for me. That is a lot for me, not to be able to go up to their house and sit down and get their wisdom, because for a moment as a child, you feel like there's nobody to defend you. Yes, I got a wife that will fight for me. I got children. I got a church that will really be 10 toes down for me. But there's nothing like when you lose your parents, like you feel like there's nobody you have anymore to really fight for you and defend you and to say, hey, I'm responsible. This person belongs to me. This boy belongs to me. And the reality is, even though I'm an adult, when I was around my parents, I never really, I chose not to feel like an adult. I hope that makes sense. I chose to be their child when I was in their presence, their middle baby, what they call the knee baby, right? I chose that. There was never a point to where I would say, well, I'm grown and there was nothing in me that ever desired to do that. That when I crossed the threshold of their house and I smelled the cooking and, I saw them sitting in their favorite chair watching Westerns, or I sat outside helping my daddy pot a plant, or looking at him in his garden, or looking at my mom talking to her at her computer while she's typing a lesson or doing research. I never let myself feel like that I was so grown that I needed them. That just was never me. I always felt comfortable being a child. I always felt comfortable being that child. And when my father passed, part of that was just, whoa, it was a lot for me. Because to me, my dad was larger than life. You know what I'm saying? That was Smitty. And I was Smitty's boy. I was Smitty's son. I was Smitty's child. Everybody would recognize me back at home. Aren't you Smitty's son? Aren't you Smitty boy? Smitty boy, he can sing that song. He can play that music. And so, music-wise, wisdom-wise, nobody could crack a joke. If you needed to figure out how to do something, my dad knew how to do it. When he died, I felt like, who I'm going to come to get this kind of wisdom. And then, mom was my friend. I'm talking about friend. And that's been since we used to travel up and down the road together, singing in choirs, holding her leg while she was singing, and then I graduated from her leg to, playing the keyboards and all that kind of stuff while she was doing all that, really pushing me and promoting me and really giving me a sense of identity, a sense of being. When she passed away, I was like, what? Remember, I've always felt like a child. So the days before she passed away, I remember she took off the mask, the oxygen mask. She was struggling to breathe, and she just grabbed my hand, and she just began to feed into me. And she said, hey, okay, listen, I know all of my children, and I know who you are. She says, I'm going to need you to be strong. Because her fear has always been, and that during that time that when she would leave, I would be a crumbled mess. She knew it. She told my wife that. My brothers knew it. Everybody's like, when she goes on to be with the Lord, Spencer is going to be he ain't going to be no good. And she was right. She was absolutely right. So she I remember the day she told my wife and I to come over to her house, and she told my wife what all the policies, what the will and all that kind of stuff was. And she says, because I know you ain't going to be able to handle none of this, But in that room, when she was about to, on those final days, she grabbed my hand. She says, I'm going to need you to be my strong boy. I'm going to need you to stand up and be my strong man to help your brothers through this, to help people. I'm going to need you to do that. And I was sitting holding her hands, crying and weeping, because I could feel she was coming to a let go point. As Paul says, I've finished my course. I've kept the faith. I could feel she was coming up to that point. And so she was laying on a responsibility that I just never had. I just never was willing to do. Because, again, I always felt like a child, and that was a safe place for me. And, I was making her the promise that I'm going to do that. I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll do that. And when they came into the little room and said, hey, she's gone, my mind it left for a minute. I was so surreal. I went through the last 78 years, and I say 78 because it was 79 years because she was 1 year away from 80. I just went through all of the life she told me about. And I mean, from the earliest point I could remember, and I don't even know how I remember that. And just, I went in that room and I just rubbed her body. It just was crying, mommy, mommy, mommy. And I felt the man grow up even as I was crying. I felt the child leave. For a moment was quiet, but I felt the man rising, and to be able to get through that moment. But that moment didn't last. That man moment didn't last long, because after all of it was over, I went back to being a child, and I chronicled that kind of journey in the book. And so, I'm anxious to share it tomorrow, be interviewed about it tomorrow, to share it. My book, you can get it from my website. For those of you, so many say, hey, how you get that book? www.lspencersmith, Spencer with an S.com, SPNSER, lspencersmith.com. We'll have books tomorrow. But I want to invite you, Culture Call, to that space to hear about that. I think it's going to help you. And not just if you've lost all your parents, but we're going to be talking about the journey of grief as well. I think it's going to be fruitful, and you don't want to miss it. It starts at 6:30. At the Impact Nation Fellowship Church, and I would love to see your face. Listen, I see the runway on this show, and I need you to keep it right here. I got a little bit more to go. Don't you miss it.
This is the world premiere.
This has been an amazing show, and I am super, super duper excited for all that we've talked about today. My prayer today is that what we've spoken in terms of building barriers around your peace, or framing it as stress barriers, boundaries that we have, been a blessing, and that we've at least caused you to rethink some of the things that you do in your life, and for you to protect your willingness, that you will become not just self-informed, but self-aware. I think that's very important for us to be able to do that. It's okay to have a conversation in the times and the spaces to where, we've lost our willingness to, be a part of or complete an assignment. I think that's very important. Let's not push ourselves too far to the place to where, we blame other people and other things for our lack of communicating really how we feel. And I think a lot of that happens, and we find ourselves in places of being upset and mad at other people, offended because we are off-ended. Did y'all hear what I just said? Yeah, that we get offended because we ourselves are off-ended, and we really can do something about that. We really must needs do something about that, and it's not a difficult process. However, that if we're not willing to communicate around those things that will protect our rest, we're inviting water to come back into our boat. That's right. Let's go back to the top. We're inviting what we should be able to float on to sink us, because we're not properly communicating our own and accepting. Maybe that's the key. Are we accepting our limitations? Your limitations don't mean that you're weak and that you're broken down. Your limitations is that you're aware that I need to rest, or that I've detached myself away from the peace that has been provided, that will guide me and navigate me through life. I think that's very important. So yes, I'm grateful that you're self-informed. You are an amazing, amazing individual, amazing being in the earth. Yes, you are. Fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God. But you also have to be self-aware that as we live on this side of eternity, we're going to get tired. We're going to get exasperated and all those things that go with that. And it's okay to say no and not feel guilty. And it's okay to say that I'm not willing, to locate your level of unwillingness and say around that, hey, I'm just not willing right now. I need to locate some things. Is it okay that I take a break? All those good, because what you're doing is you're maintaining your peace, which helps you maintain you. So don't forget that. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. We need you to last for the long haul. And then finally, I don't want you to forget, I want you to join me tomorrow. If you're not at your own church's Bible study, yeah, we're going to have it online virtually as well. But I want to see your face in the place. We're going to take questions and all of that about my newest book, Child Left Behind, for children that have lost both of their parents. And I want you to come, even if you haven't lost both of your parents, I want you to come because the grief has had an impact on your life. We're going to be talking about that on tomorrow and helping you as best as we can to give you some tools to make it on this journey, this task. And here it is, this honor called grief, because grief says that you love. Yeah, grief is a profound representation that you have experienced love, because you never grieve something that you don't love. And so, yeah, we're going to take that 6:30 tomorrow at the Impact Nation Fellowship Church right there in Alberta City. I want y'all to be there in the house. Listen, at the end of every phone call, my grandmama and my mama used to say, I love you a bushel and I love you a peck and I love you a hug around the neck. Listen, this is yours truly, L. Spencer Smith of the Culture Call, award-winning Culture Call on Praise 93.3 and 790 WTSK. That's right. We had a wonderful day today. We'll be back tomorrow. Tune in. That's right. Until then, I want you to do good, be kind, be meaningfully loving to people, love with intentionality, and follow peace with all men. Until we meet again tomorrow, God bless, and you have a great day. Peace.